Hello, world. Welcome to our AI webinar. My name is Sagar Pandya, the AI Evangelist here at Ntiva. And today we're going to learn about what AI actually is. We're going to jump through a quick introduction. We're going to jump through what AI actually is and how it works, types of AI, subfields of AI, which are essentially how you can apply it, applications, recent achievements, and then I'm going to share some of my thoughts around what I think will be in the future with this amazingly powerful technology. So, AI, in an example of a definition, is essentially the simulation of human intelligence inside of machines. It's not a new concept, it's been around for decades, but it's very recently skyrocketed into the mainstream because of the continued advancement of certain technologies like cloud computing, hardware, computer resources, software capabilities. The list goes on and on. We have been making great advancements in these technologies that allows incredible things like AI to even exist. This term was first coined back in the 1950s, and it's gone to grow on over the last few decades in different avenues and different types of capabilities. Deep learning and neural networks were introduced in the late 2000s, starting with an organization called DeepMind, which is essentially a subsidiary of Google. And then you see all the way up until 2022, where the release of ChatGPT just completely flipped everybody on their heads in terms of AI usage. So, as you all know, AI is now the term that a lot of organizations continue to use. And it's essentially the idea that we can continue to improve day to day lives with the implementation of this great new technology. How does AI really work? So, it's not really a new concept, but like I mentioned earlier, it is definitely taking the limelight in the last couple of years. And I believe it's because of the considerable improvements in the technology required to house AI. And it essentially can be implemented either in our software, in our hardware, or standalone as its own individual devices or platforms. You all have seen different iterations of AI tools today, from the Chat GPTs and the Google Geminis and the Copilots. But there are also other ways that AI is currently being implemented that may not seem so easily visible to you, right? In the back end of software for banks, you're seeing this within software within autonomous vehicles. You're seeing this in hardware that's being deployed in healthcare or out in manufacturing organizations. So AI is being implemented everywhere as we speak, and it's going to continue to provide that level of power for the traditional industries that we know today. And there's really two types of AI that we're going to be talking about and that you'll learn about throughout our AI webinar series. And it's weak versus strong. So weak AI is essentially, it's driven by other underlying technologies like voice assistance, facial recognition, language translations, ATMs at a bank. You're going to see some of this technology in things like Netflix because you have recommendation engines through AI backend that learns about what you like to watch and is able to provide you recommendations on what to go and see next. And then I believe you're going to have, strong AI, which is essentially a system that's going to be able to make decisions and make requests move much more faster because of its ability to have human-like understanding. So Chat GPT and these AI platforms that have a chat interface that you might be used to seeing, they have a little bit of this going on today. But AI is an ever-changing industry, and it's really moving at light speed. So it'll be very interesting to see what comes up just in the next few years ahead of us. Here are a few different types of AI that really exist today, right? Four main types here. You got reactive machines, limited memory, theory of mind, and really a new concept that's self-awareness. So reactive machines are essentially machines that produce outputs from given parameters or capabilities, right? So think of things like ATMs, elevators, motion lights in your office space. You got motion doors. You got something that's very static, right? It's able to produce the same thing over and over again without really learning or making a difference in what it's outputting based on some information that it may receive. So reactive machines, I mean, ATMs have been around for decades, right? It's not a really new concept, but we consider those as part of, an AI type because it does produce some type of output based on a certain programmed interface that's been built in. Secondly, you have limited memory AI, which is essentially neural models that improve with more data, right? So these change and they adapt based on inputs that continue to be brought into that system. So these are different from the reactive machines because reactive machines don't have the ability to learn and change. They're very static and they stay status quo and they don't really deviate too much from their original programming. The limited memory AI really has the ability to learn. And that's been really the most exciting thing that we're seeing today is things like Netflix, speech recognition. If you own a Tesla, it has self-driving capabilities that learns traffic patterns and it can see things all around you. You have a Nest thermostat from Google, which looks at your patterns for heating and cooling, and it can make some differences on how your HVAC system is managed based on that data that it's receiving. So these limited memory AI types, they really have been front and center the last 5 years or so. And we're going to continue to see an improvement in those as we continue to develop more ways for these systems to harness and actually use the data to make some better decisions that are either more customized to how we operate or to benefit a particular circumstance from a negative to a positive. Thirdly, we're looking at really is a theory of mind. These essentially are AI capabilities that try to mimic and interpret human thoughts and to predict behavior, right? So mirroring human social interactions. These are more like these advanced chatbots, right? And we hear a lot of talk around supplementing our customer service teams with chatbots or virtual assistants that can respond quickly. And it's not just a monotonous type robotic answer, right? It's flexible and it learns and it can give the impression that there is actually another human on the other side of that window or that chat message. And that's a field that's starting to emerge now. You have to remember running AI tools and being able to consistently get value out of them requires a ton of resources, and those resources come at a cost. Now that these resources are starting to become more and more reduced priced, we have the ability now to really take leaps in some of the AI capabilities that we have today. And then finally, it's going to be the self-awareness, right? And this is what a lot of these futurists like to say is called AGI, Advanced Artificial General Intelligence, right? AGI, which is essentially a way for us to create a system that essentially possesses very human-like capabilities, right? Where thinking and reasoning and just speed on responses, it's I think down the road and it's around the corner, but we are still at the infancy of that simply because AI can be very challenging to run on large subsets of infrastructure. And eventually we'll probably get to a point where AI may have some self-awareness capabilities. It'll be really interesting to see, what we can do from a legal perspective, just to help us create some guardrails. And then also implementation of these in the softwares and hardwares that we are accustomed to today. I think it's going to be a really exciting future for those that truly harness and have the understanding that AI can improve the lives of many. We're going to move over to some types of subfields of AI now. We're going to go through 6 of them, but this is essentially going to give you just a high level of where we are seeing AI today. First and foremost is going to be on the machine learning side of things. And it's essentially a way for hardware and devices to learn from data that's being input into the system. So think about things like fraud detection at banks, health monitors, email spam protection. These are all examples of machine learning that allow a piece of hardware or system to go in and gather inputs, whether it's user generated or if it's generated from events or logs or other types of data that's being inputted into the system. This allows it to improve and become better than it was there in the previous state. So you hear these terms, ML, machine learning, being associated with AI, because having a properly deployed AI system that can learn and continue to improve is going to be the way that we can continue harnessing this technology to provide as much valuable as possible. Secondly is computer vision. This is essentially allowing computers and pieces of hardware to see and interpret visual things around us. The best example I can give for this is autonomous vehicles. If you think about Tesla, it's got radar systems that essentially allow it to see vehicles, pedestrians, and other things on the road, so that things like full self-driving can allow the vehicle to essentially almost drive itself, right? And be able to turn corners, see red lights, and see any type of object that may be in the path of the vehicle that's driving. You have things like Face ID on your iOS devices, right? They do a biometric scan and they see your face, they see your physical appearance, and they allow you to unlock your phone without the need for a PIN or some type of password. You have retail checkout systems. I think this is super interesting what Amazon is doing with their stores that essentially don't require you to check out. You can just pick up the items and walk to the exit. And the thought is that the Amazon system can just charge your Prime account automatically without the need for anyone to go through a checkout counter. And that's all possible with computer vision. It lets hardware and AI have physical views of things around us in the physical world. Thirdly, we're going to talk through a concept right now is natural language processing, NLP. It's essentially enabling machines to understand and mimic human language. We've all been accustomed to using these types of technologies already, and especially if you have young kids that have been raised in like the last 5 or so years, they know to say things like Alexa or Siri is going to allow a piece of device to listen for some type of input or a command. And you probably already use this for, text to speech to text inside of your conversations on your Android or iOS devices. You're seeing this also in Duolingo when you're learning to speak a new language. ChatGPT even has a voice capability now as well, where it allows individuals to speak some type of text and it'll send it as a prompt over to the tool. So I think NLP is very exciting. I think there's a lot of great use cases for translation services and really breaking down communication barriers among people across the world. But it'll be interesting to see how quickly we can continue to improve on it, so that even when you have different dialects and different type of accents, the NLP's ability to understand that is going to be of huge value to people that really need that type of use. Fourthly, we should talk about now is deep learning. And it's essentially involving neural networks that essentially learn from data and tasks like pattern recognition. So deep learning is a little bit different than the machine learning, where the machine learning looks at a single data set, right? So if you're thinking about preventing fraud at a bank, right? The machine can learn patterns on fraud and the way that people call in and try to take advantage of the system. Deep learning has multiple layers to it. So a deep learning network could be something like aircraft navigation, where you're not just looking at the altitude and the speed of the aircraft, but you're also looking at the temperature both inside and outside the plane. You're looking at variable speeds of other aircraft near the area. You're looking at inputs from the pilots that essentially allow you to make better decisions on having a less turbulent flight. The deep learning capabilities are really layered, and they add in multitude of data that essentially allow the system to then make even better decisions. We as humans, we are better with deep learning because we have multitudes of things that continue to influence the way that we make decisions. And because of that, we are able to be successful in some of the stuff that we're able to do, right? So deep learning looks to really implement additional layers and allow you to create a much better outcome based on certain data points. Number 5 on the subfield of AI is going to be, I think, the most exciting one for me personally is the robotics field. This is essentially the technology that's going to be integrated into either tangible robots or tangible physical devices. And you can think of things like farming, car assembly, or even warehouse movement, where you have such a large need to have physical labor to do some work that essentially is very repetitive. And if done the wrong way, can cause harm or injury to a human being. Where the robotics can help is we can reduce this strain on a physical human workforce and allow the machines to essentially run at higher capacities 24 hours a day and limit and prevent injuries in the workplace, especially for places that have dangerous elements related to working, right? If you're thinking about working on an oil rig or working in a car assembly plant where things are moving very quickly with heavy parts, right? This allows us to essentially take advantage of physical AI capabilities so that we can continue generating the labor needed to do some of the work in some of these industries. And then lastly is really a subset of something called recommendation systems. So you're all probably very used to seeing this. It's essentially a model that allows it to learn from personalized suggestions and inputs from a user. A little bit different than machine learning because the machine learning can get data either from a user or from the internal system itself. The deep learning, again, very different because you have different layers of data that come in, either through user input, through system generated events, through other data that's being generated by some other hardware. Recommendation systems are essentially just user generated information, right? So you think about Netflix or YouTube, Spotify, any of these internal cloud platforms that allow users to discover things that they enjoy is really going to be interesting because I feel there's a huge need for this either in the food industry or in the healthcare industry where we have certain recommendation systems that are going to be able to cater very specifically to things that people actually want and allow them to have a much more customized experience. So we talked through just some subfields of AI, right? Just to give you high level of where we're seeing things being implemented today. How about some applications of AI? And I'm sure a lot of you can think of many other examples of these, but we're just going to talk through a few high level here just to get some of the wheels spinning for you in terms of what you think about AI and how you plan to use it. So I think first and foremost, every business industry that we're thinking about today, whether it's legal or healthcare, education, government, all industries currently are figuring out ways that AI can benefit and provide more value. From a healthcare perspective, right? Helping providers and hospitals do better detection on things like cancer or terminal illnesses through X-rays, MRIs, CT scans, and have the ability to crowdsource thousands and thousands of scans to help a particular patient with their particular case, right? We have doctors that are very, very intelligent, but as human beings, we are prone to fatigue. We are prone to mistakes. We are prone to having just a mismatch of a result based on something we're looking at. And not saying that AI is perfect, but AI has the ability to really research and look at thousands of data points where a human being may only be able to look at one or two at a time. So there's great implications in the healthcare space. You think about legal, right? In order to go through and supplement the hardworking attorneys, right? We have options to allow case review and do case law on thousands of documents for a particular case and really come up with a much more specific solution. Education, right? The kids that we have in school today, if we can assign them a tutor that's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it gives them the ability to have very customized learning capabilities, I think there's a huge value set there because now you have someone that's learning from a tool that's designed to work perfectly just for them, right? I think government has capability to use AI to help protect against cyber threats. There's the ability to create efficiencies within our government agencies, from tax to finance to manufacturing and repair. I think there's just so many more elements of things we can do from an AI perspective. And I truly believe every industry right now is going through a transformation. And within the next few years, there's going to be so much more of an involvement of AI in these industries. We'll talk more about that here in the next couple slides on what I think will be the future. We have wearable devices. I'm a big believer in wearables to collect data and make better decisions from a health or an individual standpoint. You have self-driving vehicles, right? Like Tesla and all the other EV manufacturers out there that essentially have developed self-driving vehicles, right? Very different from cruise control, where the self-driving vehicles can see objects and make decisions, turn the vehicle, start and stop fully. And it gives just a better level of safety to supplement drivers so that we don't continue making those driving mistakes, right? Whether we're tired or under the influence or whatever the case may be, we have some very positive applications of AI from self-driving as well. You got things in gaming, right? There's a huge gaming industry that essentially is going to replicate gaming capabilities in what seems like real world scenarios, right? Where you can use better simulators to better train airline pilots, or you have more real like um, healthcare gaming or AI systems that can prep surgeons or EMTs to become better trained in real life scenarios, right? You have applications for military to get better trained individuals to make better decisions on things that they're doing. There's so many opportunities in the gaming industry, and I think AI has such a huge impact for the ability that we can create and replicate real world scenarios without causing any real life damage. And then you got like platforms, Copilot and Chat GPT. You have you've seen some of it already in terms of the platforms. They're text based. I know people have been using them for about the last year and a half. I've got a couple of videos on this as well in our webinar series on how you can jump in and use those tools. But you got those platforms that are really changing the way we are productive with the data that we have in terms of email, documents, and collaboration with our peers. I truly believe AI is going to make us much more efficient and much more involved in some of the decisions we're making in our day-to-day work responsibilities, that we're going to be able to move much faster and continue to innovate and continue to move at the light speed that we've all starting to become accustomed to. And then I think social media, right? There's going to be a lot of hopefully improvements in the ability to not only create and generate content that's more customized to individual people, but also moderating and making some better decisions so that online safety is, really much more improved and supplemented by tools that can help us really cater and create content that's meaningful to us. Recent AI achievements. So you all have seen a lot of these achievements really being spotlighted on things like these AI platforms like Chat GPT, Copilot, Gemini, Claude, these chat assistants, right? Where you have a text window and you have the ability to interact with an AI tool. That's been a huge recent achievement. And I think OpenAI really democratized access to those types of platforms. It really seems like everyone's really talking about AI since that Chat GPT release back in November of 2022. And you're totally right. The resources that we talked about earlier are so much more cheaper and accessible. It is now just the right time for AI to have its technology moment. And you've heard me say this before in other webinars. I truly believe AI is the next major technological revolution since the iPhone in 2007. We're going to continue seeing more and more about AI assistants, right? Alexa, Siri, you got Google. You have additional AI assistants that are now giving responses in a human-like voice and tone. If you think about AI assistants just a few years ago, you can tell that it's an AI, it's a voice assistant, not even AI, it's a voice assistant that had a very robotic voice. Now we're starting to see assistants that sound more natural through natural language processing that make it feel like we're talking to another human being. Fully self-driving vehicles, right? Tesla's been front and center, and their full self-driving capabilities are now allowing vehicles to mostly drive themselves. And it's improving just the ability for us to now potentially transport even trucks and workloads of things across long distances. But there's still some work to do there. But I believe the future is great because we now even have the capability for vehicles to have some computer vision to be able to see what's around them, so that it may change, vehicles, personal driving, commercial driving. And I think the opportunity that lies ahead is massive for that. Cybersecurity, being in the cybersecurity industry myself, there's massive opportunities for organizations to continue to stay vigilant and protect and defend their data, because these cyber threats continue to evolve. And we are now seeing more and more AI utilities, both on the positive and unfortunately the negative side of cybersecurity, where organizations can continue to defend themselves, but it's also giving criminals some access to capabilities they may have not had before the release of AI. A couple other things we want to jump through here is email drafting. I know now as you write emails in your tools such as Microsoft or Gmail, you're seeing just automated replies, and you have the capability to maybe change the tone of an email and become a little bit more involved in conversations that you may have excluded before because you didn't know how to respond. So I think it's very interesting that we're seeing, email drafting and content creation capabilities to the tools themselves. And then recently, we're seeing also virtual assistants, right? Different than the chatbots, these virtual assistants can actually go and verify data. They have human-like responses. They can help people in things like customer service inquiries or anything else that they want to accomplish. And I really believe the next 18 months is going to be a truly exciting time in terms of AI and other capabilities that we're going to be continuing to see. I'm going to run into the future of AI now, which I believe is going to impact all industries. So you can think about things like marketing, finance, legal. We talked about it earlier. The possibilities are very, very limitless, right? There are so many things that we probably haven't even thought of from an industry perspective that AI is just going to open the doors to. And it's incredibly exciting because the more we can improve the lives of others, the better we are going to become as a society. So, seeing things like improved legal outcomes, improved education, much more technical marketing, we're going to have much more positive outcomes in healthcare and maybe even eradicate some things that are plaguing the human species, less accidents and injuries in manufacturing firms and just products that are built much more quickly, efficiently, and for less cost. And then just, media, insurance, legal, you got so many other capabilities for AI. And it's really, the limit is going to be the human imagination for us to be able to continue to improve all of these industries. And you're going to continue to see that in the days, weeks, months, years ahead, that these industries are going to continue to focus on AI and try to improve efficiency and costs across all. I think physical device capabilities are going to continue to improve. It's going to provide some really interesting ways for us to either have vehicles that are self-driving or robotic capabilities in dangerous places where humans are always at risk. I think artificial general intelligence will eventually get us to a point where the systems and tools that we use today can mimic human reasoning and intelligence. It'll be interesting to see how we put guardrails around those and how they continue to impact our day-to-day lives. And I'm sure there's so much more that we are probably going to think of, in the days, months, weeks, years ahead. But I truly believe, the individuals and organizations that embrace and understand AI today are really going to be the ones that are more competitively advantaged than those individuals or organizations that don't embrace the AI that is here to stay. So I hope this quick session on what AI is was helpful. I hope it gives you an understanding of what AI means in terms of technology and software and hardware. And I'm incredibly excited to continue this conversation. Please feel free to check out some of our other AI webinar videos on the Ntiva website. And until the next time, as always, stay safe out there.